Dr. George Miller is a highly respected general surgeon here in Moose Jaw and the head of our surgical department. His early years in Moose Jaw overlapped with Dr. F.H. Wigmore's, and their relationship both as surgeon colleagues and as friends made him a natural choice to bring us Dr. Wigmore's biography. Following Dr. Miller, our colleague and friend Dr. Fred Wigmore will speak on behalf of the Wigmore family. Welcome, Dr. Miller.
Good morning. It's a wonderful day. Minister Duncan, Minister Greg Ottenbright, and Deputy Printer Don McMorris, Mayor Deb Higgins, and Mayor Bob Himbolt. I would also like to acknowledge our provincial MLAs here today, Mr. Greg Lawrence and Mr. Warren Mitchelson, and I'm sure there's others that I'm leaving out, so my apologies for this. But distinguished guests, and most importantly, the members of the Wigmore family we have today, on the 108th anniversary of your father, grandfather, and great-grandfather's birth, I have the distinct pleasure to present a brief biography of this most distinguished member of my profession, who exemplified and excelled in his role as a citizen, soldier, physician, and family man. He is truly worthy of the distinction in the naming of this hospital for his role in the community and generous service to his fellow citizens as a physician and surgeon, not only in the direct care of his patients, but also in his service to the community, both in provincial and in civic organizations. He distinguished himself first in his education. Born in Prince Edward Island on November 6, 1907, at Graham's Road, he was the eldest of 8 children. He attended university first at Mount Allison, obtaining a Bachelor of Arts, and later obtained his medical degree at Dalhousie. Dr. Wigmore entered into surgical training at the Toronto General Hospital in 1939, first serving as an assistant surgeon and later as chief resident in surgery. He was a founding member of the Galley Club in Toronto, having trained directly with the great Toronto surgeon, Professor Galley, and was a member of that club from 1935 till 1999. He obtained his fellowship from the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada in 1948 and became a fellow of the American College of Surgeons in 1949. Through the years, he served as a clinical associate for the Department of Surgery with the University of Saskatchewan from 1955 till 1983 with his retirement. His military career was one of distinguished service in the Medical Corps of the Canadian Army from the years 1942 to 1946. This took him away from his family. During World War II, he served in various hospitals in the European theater of war, rising in rank to that of Lieutenant Colonel at the time of his discharge from the Canadian Army. He was a general surgeon and chief of surgery here at the Moose Jaw General Hospital at that time, and then later at the Moose Jaw Union Hospital from 1939 till 1983. He continued his involvement with the Department of Surgery, University of Toronto, training many surgeons over those years with their postgraduate time here in Moose Jaw. Dr. Wigmore was an attending surgeon at the Providence Hospital in Moose Jaw from 1939 until 1983, and also served as president of the Saskatchewan Surgical Society in 1952. He was a founding member of the Saskatchewan Cancer Commission and served as chairman from 1955 until 1964, and was president of the Saskatchewan College of Physicians and Surgeons in 1966. He was a distinguished member of the Moose Jaw Clinic from 1939 until 1969, and then entered into practice with Dr. Fred Morris, who is with us here today, from 1969 until his retirement in 1983. Dr. Wigmore had just retired when I joined the practice in 1985. He was frequently visited and checked up on the practice, showing a particular interest in a young general surgeon. He's always had an interest in surgical training. Over the years, he was an active fundraiser and oversaw the financing and construction of the memorial wing of the Moose Jaw Union Hospital in 1956. He was actively involved in provincial politics at the time of the founding of the Saskatchewan Medical Care Insurance Plan in 1962, and eventually reached a reconciliation with it after several years after its first implementation, and with its implementation in 1964 under then Premier Woodrow Lloyd. He was active in the planning of the Moose Jaw Civic Centre, opening this in 1959, and was also part of the historic debate between Premier T.C. Douglas and later Liberal leader Ross Thatcher in 1957. He was president of the Moose Jaw Chamber of Commerce in 1961 and served in the Masons and later in the Shrine as a 33rd degree Mason. His service was recognized over the years by being chosen Citizen of the Year in 1959 and received the Centennial Medal in 1968. He was made a life member of the Canadian Medical Association because of his distinguished service to organized medicine. Indeed, The chair of the University of Saskatchewan was named the F.H. Wigmore Professorship in Surgery in his honor, and we're honored today to have Dr. Ivar Mendez, the Fred H. Wigmore Professor of Surgery, Chairman of the Department of Surgery, University of Saskatchewan, with us today. Dr. Mendez, are you here? Thank you. He had a full and long partnership with his wife of almost 60 years, Pauline Elizabeth Beth Wigmore. She was a teacher by training and devoted her life to her family and community and care and support of her husband. She was a lovely lady and a gracious one. She died on April 23, 2003, here in Moose Jaw. Their 5 children in attendance today are Barry A. Wigmore, Barbara K. Latham, Marjorie E. Lenz, Constance L. Wigmore, and Dr. C. Fred Wigmore, who will be following me, all of whom are graduates of the University of Saskatchewan. There are 8 grandchildren, all of whom hold university degrees, and some whom I believe are in attendance today. There are Allison J. Latham, Dr. Warren C. W. Latham, Sarah K. Lentz, Laura E. Lentz, Emily A. M. Lenz, Patrick A. Wigmore, Catherine L. Wigmore, and Jocelyn R. Wigmore, who's a teacher here in the city of Moose Jaw. As of 2015, there are 11 great-grandchildren, some of which are here today, and Dr. Wigmore died on March 19, 1999, and is sorely missed by all who knew him and worked with him, including myself. It is to his life and work for this community and patients that we dedicate this building in his name, and I thank you.
Minister Duncan, gathered dignitaries, staff, and welcome guests. Dr. F.H. Wigmore is our father. It's his birthday today, so we're going to have a party. Our children's grandfather as well, and he lives on with all our family. And with this dedication today, he will live on in Moose Jaw region, which he loved and dedicated his life to. You have to excuse the menopausal male up here, so. My dad would have loved the discipline associated with the building of this hospital. The seemingly endless redesign based on putting patients first in a time when they and their families are often most vulnerable. He would have loved the data relied on to simulate the flow of patient care, the care areas that are brightly lit with natural light, and the separate workspace for staff so they can concentrate on planning and documenting patient care. He would embrace the innovation and the fact this hospital is so avant-garde because so was my father. He had a dictaphone on plastic records portably built into his car years before anyone else thought of doing dictations on the move. He spent hours on the road, going to college meetings in Saskatoon, Cancer Commission meetings in Regina. His back seat was his file cabinet, and he dictated from his car if he ever had any downtime, but especially as he waited for my mother to say her endless goodbyes at social functions. He would love, as we do here, our IT department in this hospital. This is quite possibly the most advanced in Canada as we meet here today. Dad was the first person I knew to get a reel-to-reel tape recorder. He was the first one to get a cassette tape recorder. And the real breakthrough in technology was a wireless remote control for the TV set. He was also a strong advocate for safety. He had seat belts put in his cars as an option in the 1950s to protect his family. He would have marveled at the advancements in diagnostic imaging with our ultrasounds, our CT scans, and of course, our MRI. My dad would have loved the fact that this was a regional hospital. Many a Sunday supper at our house was interrupted by the names of Galley from Assiniboia, Main Prize from Central Butte, calling for him to accept a patient in transfer and consult on them surgically. Dad loved Moose Jaw. He came to Saskatchewan from Prince Edward Island in his late teens as a summer relief, non-ordained minister in the Wood Mountain country. And he fell in love with the best sunsets in the world. After finishing his residency training in Toronto as chief surgical resident, he answered the telegram of his fellow chief medical resident in Toronto, a Moose Jaw native, Dr. F.C. Heel. And he came to Moose Jaw. Here he set up roots, and in usually dry prairie soil, roots run deep. You don't have to go too far in this hospital to witness these roots. There are many donations from Moose Javians that have left, found success elsewhere, continue to support our hospital, as well as the locals here who have done so well and right here at home, supporting our hospital. Dad and my mom, mostly my mom, raised 5 children who are all thankful for the great education we got at King George School and Central Collegiate. Despite not living here for 40 years, the roots run deep, and those children and their children have given back to say thanks to Moose Jaw on behalf of our father, grandfather, and us. In closing, I want to thank a lot of people who made this building happen. When I saw the passionate work that was going on in the plans of this hospital, the goals of this hospital board, the leadership of our CEO, Cheryl Craig, leading us through some turbulent learning curves, the changes for our staff, and the work in this hospital, the dedication of the staff to embrace all the progressive ideals for our patients. I knew this hospital was going to be special. When my family was approached to consider the naming opportunity, we were honored to proceed, feeling strongly that our father would be proud to have his name associated with our new regional hospital. I think as part of the lean program, it also made it cheaper because F.H. Wigmore is 5 Hills Wigmore, so it's saved on the logo. Lastly, I'd like to thank Kyle and Jen today for organizing a great celebration, and to thank you, the guests, for coming and contributing to the finest hospital in Saskatchewan. Thank you.